Our first topic in this section is to review our rules for rounding. The procedure that we're going to use to review rounding is that we're going to take our number and we're going to decide which is the last digit that we're going to keep. We're going to leave that keep digit the same if the next digit is less than 5. And if the next digit is 5 or more, we're going to increase the keep digit by 1. And in both cases, we'll change all digits to the right to 0. So this is best illustrated by working a few examples. So our first example says that we want to round 23.798 to the ones place. So I have a place value chart on the screen. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter the number into the place value chart. So looking at my decimal, I'm going to enter the numbers to the left of that decimal. So I'm going to do a 2 here and a 3 here. We see our decimal at the bottom here. And then I'm going to enter the numbers to the right. So that would be 7, 9, 8. All right, so the problem asks us to round to the ones place. So I'm going to find the ones in my chart. And this is going to become my keep digit. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look to the right of that digit, which is the 7. And remember that our rule says that if that number that I circled in blue is less than 5, we're going to keep our keep digit as it is. And if that number that I circled in blue is 5 or more, then we're going to increase our keep digit by 1. So our digit is 7. So that means that this keep digit is going to become a 4. And then remember that every other number to the right of it is going to become 0. All right, so let's look at what we have. We have a 2, a 4, the decimal place, and 3 zeros. And I know that I don't really need to write the zeros to the right of the decimal place, so I'm just going to drop those zeros and give as my final answer 24. So 23.798, if we're going to round it to the ones place, then it will round to 24. All right, let's try it again. Okay, this time we want to do 342.514, and we want to round it to the 10th place. Okay, so again, I'm going to enter the numbers into the place value chart. So notice where your decimal is. Okay, here's your decimal in your place value chart. So the numbers to the left, the 3, 4, and the 2, let's fill those in. 3, 4, and 2. And then the numbers to the right of the decimal place, 5, 1, 4. Okay, let's identify the value that we want to keep. All right, so we're looking at the 10th place. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to find the 10th place. All right, so this is the digit place that I want to keep. All right, so let's look to the right of that digit. So this number is a 1. So remember, if that number that I circled in blue is less than 5, then the number in the keep place stays the same. All right, so that's the case that we have here. And then remember that every number past that turns into a 0. All right, so let's look at what we've got. I have 3, 4, 2 of the decimal place, 5, 0, 0. And again, you don't need to write any zeros at the end of the number. Okay, so those are kind of just extra, so I'm going to drop those off. So we have 342.5 as our final answer. Okay, let's try it again. We're just going to work a few of these until we are sure that we are comfortable with what we need to do. All right, so our number is 423.985. So let's go ahead and enter it into our chart. 423.985. All right, let's identify the place value that we want to keep. All right, so we want to keep it to the hundredths place. All right, so that's this place right here. So again, we're going to look to the right of that. And if the number that I circled in blue is 5 or more, remember that you're going to add 1 to the keep place. So this is going to become 9. And everything to the right turns into 0. All right, so what do we end up with? 423.990. And again, we want to drop any zeros on the right-hand side. All right, so 423.99. Okay, we have a couple more. So 473 to the tens place. Okay, so notice that there's no decimal in 473. If there's not a decimal, we assume the decimal place sits here at the right of the number. All right, so I have 473.473. All right, let's identify the place value that we want to keep. We want to keep the tens place. So that is here. We want to look to the right of that. And I see a 3. So remember, 5 or more, and we add 1 to the keep place. Less than 5, which is what we have here, the keep place stays as it is. So it stays at 7. And anything to the right becomes a 0. All right, so we end up with 470 as our final answer. All right, let's do a couple more. All right, 486, we went around it to the hundreds place. Again, no decimal, so I know the decimal ends up on the right here. So let's write it in, 486. All right, which place are we keeping? We want to keep the hundreds place. So we find that on the chart. This is the keep place. We look immediately to the right. I notice that that value that I circled in blue is bigger than 5, which means then that the keep number increases by 1. Everything else to the right turns to 0. So we end up with, for our final answer, 500 or 500. All right, last one, 5,099.25. Okay, let's write it in. 5,099.25. Okay, we're going to round it to the thousands place. So that's the place that we want to keep, the thousands place. And so we want to look at the number immediately to the right. Okay, that number is a 0. So remember, less than 5, which 0 is, the keep place stays the same. So we keep the 5 as it is, and everything else turns into a 0. All right, so let's look at what we've got. We have a 5,000.00. Remember that any zeros to the right of the decimal place are extra. Okay, you do need the zeros to the left though. All right, so we're going to just say that this is equal to 5,000. All right, so hopefully that helps you a little bit with rounding. Again, the thing to remember is if your number to the right of the keep place is 5 or more, you're going to increase your keep value by 1. If it's less than 5, you're going to leave the keep place as it is.